Okay, I'm just going to do it this time because for some reason I keep winding up with funny faces on me and it keeps going back to where it's just Buck and myself. Let's see, is it working this time? Can you see it, Jose?
Yes.
Yes. So we have Facebook Live. Yes, we have Sister Kathy. We have Jose. Now we're getting somewhere. I'm having technical difficulties really bad. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad that y'all cannot get to me, so that y'all cannot get to my neck, so that y'all cannot hurt me for being so late with this. Okay, let's see. Hallelujah. Amen. There's Buck. Okay, I'm going to add you now. Let's see. Here we go. There you are. Add Buck. Okay. Is it adding you, Buck? Oh. Okay. It's supposed to be adding you, Buck. Let me try this way. Invite. Okay. Oh. This has just been one of those crazy, crazy days. I see you right there in the middle. Buck, you might have to hit accept or something, or I don't know what's going on, but it's not wanting to add you. Oh, it says you're invited. A while ago, it just added him right. We had no hiccups a while ago at all. And now we're having hiccups. But it'll be okay. Buck, I refuse to give up. This is going to happen. All right, let's try it again. Okay, hold on. Yes, we're going to get it this time. It's adding.
There we go.
Yes. We're having all kinds of trouble.
Yeah, I know.
I was a bear this time. What? When he and I were trying to do this, I was a cat, and then the second time I was a bear, and it went from public back to just bucking myself. Oh my goodness!
That's
Hallelujah!
that's one of the
This is
funniest
going to
things
be
each week, just watching you try to get people on.
yes, 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 yes.
It worked. It
Oh my
worked fine the
goodness!
first time, and then that time I had nothing.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what happened. Something happened that time.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can hear you.
this is
All right.
Buck Cheatham. I was
Hello.
his Sunday school teacher when you were what, 16, 15,
Uh,
16, 17,
Probably 15, 16,
15.
because when I got my driver's license, I was gone pretty much.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
stick
yeah,
around much after that.
yeah.
That's when the road went left instead of right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but you've always had potential. It was always there, always. And
Yeah.
and I remember when I had you in Sunday school class, I told somebody, I said, it's going to take a strong woman of God for him.
I got
And
one.
you got one. You
I
got
got
a
one
great,
now.
strong woman of God. Yes,
Yes, I do.
yes. But that's because of the anointing that I could see in your life. You know, you didn't see it, but it's always been there, always.
Yeah.
Um,
I was
so
definitely
I
blind to
can't
it.
wait. I've only heard bits and pieces of your testimony, but I've never heard it straight from you. So I am
Yeah.
very excited, and I've already got the great big box of tissues because I'm a whiny crybaby. And so just wherever you feel like starting, then you go for it.
Okay. Well, like I told you before, I've given my testimony multiple times at multiple different places, and it never comes out the same, no matter how many times I give it, because, like I say, I think we're led each time to do it a little different for maybe
Amen.
the audience there or whatever it may be. But I just try to go where God leads me in the words that He chooses for me to do. I just try to go with it. And today,
Right.
that's what I'm going to do. I did write down some notes. I got a mess here, but there's a few things that I make sure I don't want to leave out. And I told my wife, I said, I'm not going to be long-winded like you. And she said, we'll see about that. Well, once I got my notes finished, I might be a little longer than her. I don't know yet, but we'll see.
That's all right. God's in it. Doesn't matter.
That's right. Amen. But I guess I'll just start if that's all right.
That's fine. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, I guess for everybody out there that don't know me, I'm Buck Cheatham, and I was raised in a pastor's home. My dad's the pastor, Anchor of Hope Church, Mom, and they have been for, I guess, going on 38 to 40 years, something like that now. It's been a while.
That, yeah.
Well, yeah. And so I'll just go on into it. I was raised in a pastor's home, raised in a preacher's home, and I don't have a bad childhood testimony like a lot of people do, because I didn't live that life. My mom and dad were always there. They always taught me about, living for God and about salvation. And they I was raised right. I had good grandparents, good brothers and sisters, and everything was good. I had everything I ever needed as a child. So I don't have that coming from that. Everything that happened to me, I chose myself, and I put myself in the situation, and the consequences of life was just what I chose. It wasn't nothing that I was set in or something that I was raised in or something I just had to deal with. It was something I chose for myself. And, when I was little, I went to church camps, vacation Bible schools. I went to every service every time the doors were open. But even though I was raised in that type of environment, I strayed away from it. I knew about God, and I didn't really understand the relationship with God. I understand the church part of it, but that was about it. And then I guess, as you get a little older and you start becoming a teenager and you start dealing with your high school ways, and your peer pressure sets in, and we're faced with our choices. And that's right. And choices have consequences, as bad as that is to say. And at that age, if you want to go into high school and you're trying to live for God, that's sometimes you might have to stand alone. And any young person out there, you better be ready for that, because people are going to come against you. You're going to be teased and picked on. But if you want to stand for God, you might have to stand alone. And when I had those choices, and God gives us free will so we can make those choices too. He wants us all to follow Him, but He's not going to force us to. And at that age, everybody's seeking a place like, where am I going to be when I get older? Where am I going to fit in? So you start look for a certain group of people to accept you. And, most kids want to be accepted, by the popular kids. And that's where I lost my way right there. When I tried to seek, the wrong type of leadership, so what best way I can say it. I chose to follow the guys in school who had the popularity, the money, the women, the drugs, the nice vehicles, whose parents would let us go to their house and party on the weekends and stuff like that. That's kind of what I chose, and that led me down the wrong path. But at that time, I didn't realize that popularity was only because of what they had to offer everybody, or intimidation, or whatever it was. People didn't look up to them for who they were. It was what they had to offer. And you'll figure out real quick in life that when you don't have nothing to offer, you find out who's really there for you. And I've been through that several times. And we can, I guess, in high school and stuff, we can all put on that tough guy persona. I don't know if there'll be young people watching this or not, but I feel led to talk about the high school part of it for some reason. And
that's fine.
We can put on that tough guy shell like nothing bothers us, and play a certain role. But in life, you don't know what's going on inside of people. You don't know what their feelings are, what their heart's feeling, or what they go through when they're behind closed doors. And I feel like it's something that everybody needs to consider. When they're talking to people about anything. Don't look down on them because of any reason. Pick everybody up. And And I chose the fellowship and follow that type of leadership. And I had choices. My choices were I could follow my dad, who's been a man of God as long as I can remember. And I could have chose that godly leadership to follow, but I didn't choose that. I chose to follow that tough guy popularity leadership, and it didn't get me nowhere. And, it's kind of like, the story in the Bible where God told Moses and Aaron to go spy out the land. And is that blocking me out?
No, you're fine.
Okay, well, it covered my screen. Okay. Well, where God told Moses and Aaron to go spy out the land, they sent the leaders of all the 12 tribes. Well, 10 came back, and you know what they said. They're giants over there. The land is wonderful, but they're giants over there. We feel like grasshoppers in their presence. But those 2 stepped out and said, with God on our side, we can do anything. And that's the type of leadership I walked away from. That's the type of leadership I want to be one day. And that's what I want to be in my home, to my wife, to my children, to my work, at my workplace, at my community. I want that kind of leadership that walked out behind that tent and said, with God on my side, I can do anything. I don't want to be the one who shows the fear of, we can't take that. We can't do that. I'm already off track, but we're going to go with it, Sister Judy.
Just be led by God. That's right. You be led by God. You're doing great.
Well, long story short on that part, we'll get out of high school now. Well, I ran the streets for years, doing drugs and drinking and lying, stealing, cussing like a sailor, partying all the time. The same testimony you hear everybody tell, but I'm not going to focus much on that part of it because everybody knows the routine. So, that's the life I chose, and that's what I was doing. But that wasn't who I was. I wasn't a drug addict. I wasn't an alcoholic because I chose to do that. That didn't define me. I wasn't going to today I'm not going to let my past define me for sure. But at that time, I wasn't going to let what I was doing define me. I never really got addicted to anything, but I did a whole lot more than what I should have done. But, I was deceived, I guess, by myself because I have made myself believe that just being a good person was okay. I really did. Even though my parents had taught me the rights and the wrongs and about God and about what you do's and don't do's, but myself, I had deceived myself into thinking that everything was okay because I was a good person. I never really purposely mistreated anybody, and I would help people if they needed help. I would. I had manners. After I got a little older, I got manners. When I was a little man, don't hold that against me. But, I had respect for my elders, but, like any con man, I guess is the word to use for it. I was living that double life, acting totally different around one group than I was another group. And that's what I was doing. And I had learned to really master that routine. I was pretty good at it when I'd come around church people, because I was always around church people. If I came home, I would be somebody I wasn't for sure.
Yes.
And I'd put on a big front, and that wasn't me. That wasn't me at the weekends at the ballpark or at the field party on Saturday night. That's who I was. And, I felt like, at that time where I was deceiving myself, that I provided for my family. I loved my family. Always there for my wife and my kids and my friends. And in most people's eyes, that's enough to get you to heaven. But that's not enough.
That's not enough, but that's what people think.
That's right. I mean, there's one way, and that's through Jesus, and that's the only way. And being a good person is just not going to cut it, even though it can't hurt. That's for sure. It can't hurt, but you need that little extra push to, must be born again. And I tell people all the time, I try to express that. But because I was doing stuff for others, I was kind of really doing certain things because it benefited me. I was a selfish person at heart, but on my outside, you wouldn't know that because I was pretty good at my game, to be honest with you. I can make people believe certain things, but my heart wasn't doing what it seemed to be, put it that way.
Right. Yeah.
And it was all about me. I was good at letting everybody think I was doing good for them, put it that way. I mean, that's a terrible way to live life, but that's the honest truth. And I lived that way for, I guess, 20, 25 years. And what it really boils down to, what I feel like it boils down to is, I was a public success, but a private failure. I guess that's the way I felt about it at the time. But, you know, I had all the material things. I had the nice house, the boat, the camper, the good job, the pool, the four-wheelers. I mean, living the high life, I thought. But there was always that void in my heart, always.
Always.
And the only way I could feel it was with my drugs or seeking more money or seeking what was the next material thing I could buy, because like I said, I was never satisfied. I was always, and Brandy would always get on me. You just bought this. Why you want that? You just bought that. Why you want this? And I was always seeking something, and I didn't understand what I was seeking. But, you know, a scripture in the Bible that meant a lot to me when I first got saved is, you know, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things that are seen are temporal or temporary, however you want to say it, but the things which are not seen are eternal. And, you know, I was seeking those temporary things. I was living the material life to fill my void. And it would only work, though, for a short time. If I had my booze or my drugs, it was good till the hangover. If I bought something, it was good for the first month. You know, it would always fill my void, but for a short time. And I just always knew there was something more. And I just never was satisfied, and I couldn't make myself be. And, you know, I believe that we all have that void in our hearts that can only be filled by God himself. You know, I think there's a little spot in everybody, and it'll stay empty until you allow him in. And when you allow him in, I just think there's so much that, you know, comfort and peace of mind and everything that I was seeking at the time when I got saved that I didn't really understand a whole lot until that point. But then on October 12th, 2016, that's the day I had my injury. Now it's about to get real.
Yes.
That's when I fell out of that tree stand and was injured pretty bad. And most people that know me knew all about that whole story. And I can tell you that only by the grace of God I'm here today, because when I fell out of that tree, I fell a long ways. It broke me up from head to toe. I was knocked out. I still, I guess, don't have memory of some things that happened before that, because Brandy's always getting on to me. Do you remember this, or this? And I don't remember them. And she keeps, and I think they're just joking with me and making up stuff sometime, but she promises that, no, we done that. And I don't know how you don't remember. Well, I don't remember. So
it's but by the grace of God you live.
That's right. By the grace of God. Yes, that's exactly right. But that's why, you know, and that alone is why I want to tell people what Jesus done for me, because can't nobody tell it like I can tell it. Nobody knows like I know what he done. So who better to tell it than me? I mean, I really am uncomfortable as all get out talking to this phone right now. It feels weird. I'd rather talk to a whole room full of people, but it is what it is. Maybe somebody needs to hear it. If it helps one person, it's all worth it to me. And, you know,
well, most of these videos get at least 500 views.
Well, that's good. We're going to go for 1,000. How about that?
Yes, sir. 2. We can go for 2.
Well, then after my surgery, which, you know, they had to fuse my foot, and I got metal all in it now, and I was pretty much on bed rest for a little over 3 months. And I mean, bed rest, couldn't even go to the restroom, bedpans, Brandy washing me right there, and it was terrible. Look at the ceiling all day or watch TV, and that gets old real quick, because I was always a person on the move. I didn't like to just sit still and, you know, lay there. Well, then Brandy would go to work, the kids would go to school. Well, there's 8 hours. I'm sitting there by myself, and if I dropped the remote on the floor and it was on KET, I was stuck watching animals do flips all day. It was terrible. But you know, it was almost like God had enough of me running. Like he had something for me to do other than what I was doing, because I'd been convicted multiple times in church services and different things, and I would always run from it. I'd do anything in my power to run from it. And it was almost like, I don't know if he threw me out of the tree or what, because the tree stand never fell, but I did. And it was a ladder stand who had a bar all the way around my waist. I don't know how I got over that bar, but I did. And it was almost like he said, you know, be still and know. You know what I mean? That's the way I took it. Like, be still and know that I'm God. And emotionally and mentally, I went through a rough time when I laid in that hospital bed, and I was in, a dark place, thinking I was a failure as a husband, a failure as a dad, a failure as a son. I mean, when you lay there that long in depression, you start thinking about everything you've ever done to anybody, because, it's my job to provide for them. It's my job to do the yard work, my job to take care of the house, and I couldn't even go to the bathroom. I was stuck, and I didn't know how to handle that. You think, I pretty much was in a place I'd never been before, and I was desperate. I really was. I was desperate, and I was in need for something and didn't really know what. I kind of knew what, but I didn't want to know what. Do you know what I'm saying? I knew what from what I was taught and how I was raised, but I didn't want to admit it. Well, that right there is when God started revealing himself to me. I mean, he really did. He started revealing himself to me through TV. He started revealing himself through my thoughts, through people, through some people I'd have never thought in a million years God would use, but we know that God works in mysterious ways. He can use anybody, obviously. Yeah. And, we just about lost everything during my accident. I'd lost my insurance had ran out because we only get so much time at work, and then it expires, and then our money runs out. And so we had no income. Then Brandy gets hurt at our benefit, and so thankful for the Moose Lodge and everybody that helped do that benefit for me, because that saved everything we had. That's just all it was to it. And then so many people helped out, and we was in a pretty bad spot. But through all that, he was revealing himself to me in ways that they was unexplainable to me, the things I was experiencing. Because I'd been to church 1,000,000 times, but I never experienced that. It was different to me. And now, I always see people shouting and jumping around and raising their hands and all the stuff when I was a kid, but I didn't understand it. I never done that. And I thought, look, what kind of show are they putting on? Really, that's how I thought as a kid, but I thought, go on with it. That's what you like, go on with it. And even after all that, I still was rebelling. He was revealing himself to me every way possible. Money in the mailbox, don't know where it came from. Gift cards in the mailbox, don't know where it came from. Food stuck in the door, don't know where it came from. And, I don't know if they were sliding in while we sleep at night or what, but nobody would admit to it either. And, I didn't want to change. My parents had planted that seed in me a long time ago when I was young, and I thought that I knew about God, but in all reality, I had no idea about, the power of God. And I only understood, I guess you call it the religion side of it. I understood
about him. You didn't know him.
Exactly right. And I didn't understand the relationship. That's what it was. I didn't understand the relationship. I think a lot of people get caught up in that too. Get caught up in the religion only and a routine of going to church on Saturday or Sunday, and then only to live like they want Monday through Friday. And to me, that's having a relationship with him every day, one-on-one, is a whole nother level. And that's what we should all seek.
That's it.
Is that relationship, and not just routine of doing the same things over and over and over. A lot of people just want to let Jesus tag along all week, and then on the weekend show their face in church, and it's all good. But me, I want to follow Jesus all week. I want to seek him daily. I want to let my flesh die daily, and I want to, live in his ways and follow him every day. I've heard 1,000,000 people say it, where they say, Jesus don't want weekend visits. He wants full-time custody. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say in my own way. But, and then I guess we'll move on a couple months down the road. I was laying in the hospital bed, and just being convicted all the time, off and on. It would be so strong, and then I'd do anything I could to make it leave my mind. And then one day, and this changed everything, is and I might get a little emotional. I can't help it, because this is something that's huge to me.
And not just
But
you. There's a lot of people packed you in prayer for a
no, I
lot of
know they
years.
did. I know they did. I guarantee you they did. And my phone dinged that day, and it was a text message, and it was a simple and short, and it said, "Read Philippians 4:13 every day, every night before you go to bed, and believe it." Well, I didn't tell nobody I received that message. I done it every day, just like the message said. I read it every day, and I believed it. But I wasn't telling nobody I was doing it. I didn't tell Brandy. I didn't tell anybody. And I'm gonna tell you, Sister Judy, it was a divine appointment. For me to receive that message at that exact time. I mean, because it was perfect timing. It was God's timing. We try to do everything on our own. We can pray. We can try to push our kids in or push our friends into church. We can try all we want to. And at the end of the day, if it's not His will and His timing for them, you can pray, but it's not going to take effect. It's not going to take root. That seed is not going to germinate because it's God's will and not ours. And we just have to accept that for what it is and trust and speak it true, I guess you call it. Just believe in His promises. And but that message came from Sister Debbie Puckett. And little Debbie Chester is what I always knew her as growing up, and I guess everybody knows her as Debbie Puckett now. And I tell you, I thank God for that woman. I thank God for her obedience. I thank her for her friendship. And I hadn't saw her or spoke to her in years. I mean, and she's my cousin, but I hadn't talked to her, hadn't spoke to her, and I'm sure she heard about my injury through Mom or Vicky or somebody. But and she was led to send me that. I've talked to her about it, and she was led to send me to it. And I'm gonna tell you, I needed to receive it. I really did. I mean, it was perfect timing. And right then, the hardness, it just started to melt off my heart and started to slowly fade away. And a little while later, when I was, it was probably a month later, 2 months later, I don't know the timing exactly, but when I was able to get up on crutches, I wanted to go to church, and I didn't really want to come pray. I didn't want to ask forgiveness. I didn't want to do any of that. I just wanted to come and show appreciation and respect for, people that showed they cared for me and when I was down. And, and there's a lot of good people out there, Sister Judy, who helped me during my time of need. I mean, a lot of them. I'm not even going to attempt to try to name them all, but they know who they are, and I'm forever grateful to them, and they know that. And I came to church that Sunday morning. It was March the 5th, 2017. I'll never forget that day. But I came to church that morning. I sat in that service and convicted like always. I mean, just melting me in my seat. Sounded like an elephant sitting on my shoulders. But my pride would not let me go to that altar. It would not do it. And for years, that was the thing. It was always a pride thing. Like I was too, worried about what people would say about me or too worried about people judging me. Embarrassed of Jesus is what you can really call it, because, John 3:16 says it all. If He sent His only Son for me, who am I just to sit there and too prideful to get up and walk to this altar, too prideful to raise my hands or pray to Him? I mean, really, how dare me after, I think about it now. And I kept telling myself, I was like, I'm not ready for no kind of change. I got to change a few things on my own before I try to seek Jesus or try to be saved. But little did I know, when that Spirit dwells in you, you don't change nothing anyhow. You just go where you led.
Yeah. He does the changing. Yes.
That's right. Amen. But that through that service that morning, I made it through, and I went home, and it weighed on me all day long. I mean, something awful all day long. And then Brandy wasn't coming back to the night service. She made that clear. She didn't want no part of it. Pentecostal churches scared her to death, and she was not having it. So Morgan, my oldest daughter, told me she'd drive me back because I wasn't able to drive at the time. And the whole time I'm telling myself I'm not going back to church. I'm putting my pants on. I ain't going back putting my shirt on. I'm not going back no matter what. I'm putting my shoes on. The whole time I'm sitting here telling myself I'm not going, but I'm getting ready. And then, so we came back that night, my oldest daughter, Morgan, and Carmen, and my youngest daughter, and we came back that night. And like I say, it was March 5th, 2017. That night, Sister Julie Laporta was preaching. And
Oh, wow. Yeah.
she started preaching like normal. And about, I guess, 10 minutes into her sermon, she just stopped. And it was the quietest, longest pause you ever heard in your life. To me, it was. It might not have been 30 seconds, but to me, it was like forever. And she said, someone in here is carrying a burden, a heavy burden. And tonight we're going to break those chains that are holding them down. She said, I've seen a vision of this chain that goes across this aisle, and tonight we're going to remove it. Well, she didn't know me from nothing because I hadn't been here, and I guess she's from Indiana or somewhere. Well, she called my mom up front, and when she called my mom up front, she come off the pulpit, and she was like illustrating, picking up an invisible chain and, just drawing it with both hands. And she started on that side of the church, and I was on this side sitting with my grandmother about 8 rows back. And little did I know she was heading right toward me. I can tell you that. And she began to pray over me when she got to me. She couldn't get to me, so she steps over the people in the pew in front of me to get to me. Then I knew it was going down then. And when she put her hands on me and started praying over me, it was like a bolt of lightning hit me. I never had felt nothing like it in my life. And it was just so overwhelming. And somehow I ended up at the altar with my crutches at the seat. And I don't even much more remember that. And my grandmother, she was laughing like, the old timers say, well, God put legs on you, honey, or whatever. And I said, well, I guess he did, because I don't know how I got to that altar. And everybody said I just more or less hopped up there on one leg, I guess. And well, anyhow, when I got to the altar that night, I cried out to God. I said, God, if you forgive me for my sins and you get me out of this dark place that I'm in, I'll live and follow you forever. And I meant it. I meant every word of it. And, I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. The guilt was so heavy on me. And, I cried at the altar that night. And I was feeling like, nothing I'd ever felt before. I'd never felt nothing like that before. And I told God, I said, I wasn't sure exactly how to pray at that time. And I just told him, I don't have much to offer here that I know of, but whatever it is, I give it to you, because I've tried it my way long enough and it ain't working. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Lord, and I'm going to I'm just going to leave it in your hands, and we're going to go from here together. And I was lost. I mean, really lost in my wicked ways, I guess you call it. And that night he brought me out of captivity. And that night, I was forgiven and set free. I was delivered from cussing, drugs, alcohol, everything that night. And I haven't touched any of it since. And, my life that night was forever changed. And my grandmother that night had told my daughter, she made them come up here and pray for me. And it was new to them, same as it was new to me, because, I didn't bring them to church like I should have. And thank God now Carmen is in here really good, but I'm still working on Morgan. I hope she's watching this so she can know that everybody knows that I'm working on her now. But my grandmother made them. She told them that night, she said, your daddy ain't never going to be the same again. And she's exactly right. Everything's changed. It flipped my world upside down. It's flipped their world upside down. And it is a big change, but it's a good change. And it's a change. It's a good flip that nobody, you can't explain it to somebody until they experience it themselves. That's just all it is to it. And, just routine, like I said earlier, routine church and routine services and the same thing over and over. And seek more. There's more out there. There's more. Amen. He offers so much more if you just seek that one-on-one relationship with him. And, today I am forgiven and my name is in the Lamb's Book of Life. And I'm so thankful for that. And now every day, it's not Buck doing what Buck wants to do. Now the Lord directs my steps and I go where he leads me. And he's got me in some pickles now, going to these jail ministries and homeless ministries and different things I've been doing, throughout since I've been saved. Some of that stuff is very uncomfortable, but I'm not dare going to say no, because I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be Jonah. I can tell you that. They ain't going to be spitting me out. But this, but this verse right here it really, really reminds me of the state of mind I was in that night that I went to that altar, and it's Psalms 34:6, and it says, "The poor man cried, and the Lord heard him, and saved him out of all of his troubles." And that was so me that night when I approached that altar. I mean, I was hurting, and I wouldn't let everybody know on the outside how much I was really troubled mentally and emotionally, but I was a mess. I mean, I'm not too proud to admit it now. I used to be too proud to admit it, but I'll wear my emotions on my sleeve now, because I humbly approached the throne that night. I submitted. And I'm not ashamed to throw my chin up and shoulders back and call on the name of Jesus on Main Street. And I don't care who likes it and who my friends like it and don't like it. If I got to stand alone, I will. But I know where my path is heading, and I know where I came from. And like I say, I'd love to have some brothers and sisters walk it with me. And there is some mighty women of God in this church, and you know that well as I do. And yes, there's some men growing, and we all working up together, but we need some more men to take that place, and stand up and do what they need to do. But I know everybody's praying for that. I guess that's probably in about every church. But and in 2 Corinthians, which everybody knows this one too, "Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new." And all things. That's right, all things. I was forgiven for everything. I don't have to look back. My hands are on the plows, and I'm going to keep going. My past is not going to define me. I won't let it. My past, if anything, is going to help me. What my goal is to bring in souls, bring in lost souls and help somebody in trouble, encourage and inspire whatever it is that I got to do. I'm willing. I might be a little tight on saying yes sometime, but at the end of the day, they know they're going to talk me into it because they gang up on me. But
thank God.
Yeah, but I can tell you, it is definitely truly the hand of God working in my life. There's no other way to explain it, and and I'm just thankful for that. And I turned to Him that night in faith and in trust, and He's changed everything. Like I say, all things have been made new. And then after I was saved, it took a day or two, because that night I never got to sleep that night, because I was a mess. I didn't know what I was experiencing. I was trembling a little bit, and everything looked different. It was just like everything was different. It was almost like I stepped in a time warp and knew everybody in there, but it was different. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah. I wish everybody get a little taste of it, and then we'd all just talk about it instead of explaining it. But yeah.
The grass is greener. The trees are the sky's bluer. Everything changes.
That's right. You're right. Everything is. But I understood it more, and I got it. It made me stop being so selfish, and I realized that, my existence on this earth, it was about more than me. It was realized that I represent something a lot bigger than myself. I thank God every morning for everything I got, because I've always my whole life took things for granted that I did have, and I didn't cherish what I did have. And if anything, I wish I could take some of that back, because I lost a lot of people in my family and friends and things that I should have spent more time with, or I'd give anything to have that time back. But in my selfish ways, I didn't cherish what I had. I didn't appreciate what I had. I just took it for granted. And, when I couldn't walk for 8 months, I took walking for granted. I complained about walking to get the mail or taking the trash out. Well, lay in that bed for 8 months and let me know. You'd be glad to get up and take that trash out or check that mail. And, there's just so many things to see, to hear, to touch, to smell, or just to be grateful for. And I don't know, I guess we catch ourselves expecting more, like we deserve more sometime. And it's really changed me a lot in that aspect, because now what I really like focusing on is like, and I tell my youngest daughter that, it's honor and legacy and reaching lost souls. That's what I really want to do. I want to honor, the old timers who's came through here and paved this way for us. I want to leave a legacy for my daughter and her generation, to know what is what about Jesus and all about the Bible. And I want to reach lost souls in any way I can. I'll spread the good news to anybody to listen if they stand there long enough. Some of them get tired of hearing it at work, and they're probably on here laughing right now. But some of them call me preacher at work because I won't leave them alone. But my mind shifted big time from me to we, because I was very, very selfish in my mind. And I strive today to see my family, my friends, my community. I want to see everybody saved. And I've heard you say this on here before. I don't want to go to heaven by myself. I want to take everybody I can. And
Yes.
And there's only one way we're going to do it, and that's get outside the walls and go do it.
Amen.
It's easy to stand and talk about we need to go witness or we need to go knock on doors, but hey, let's go do it. It's something simple as shutting a car door and giving it some gas. I'm in. But we got to make that effort, because I want everybody to experience the power of God that I felt that night on that altar.
Amen.
And I felt it several times since. That's not the only time I felt it, but that night was the first time, and you don't ever forget the first time. And but everybody's got to make that choice on their own. Anybody that's on here listening or whatever, you got to make that choice on your own. You got to seek your own salvation with fear and trembling. Mama can't do it for you. Daddy can't do it for you. Nobody can do it for you. Your preacher, your pastor, your priest, nobody can do it for you. You got to do it yourself. And, so many people ask me, wouldn't you like to take that day back that you fell out of that tree and got hurt? And I always tell them, what do you mean take it back? You don't even know, man. And they're like, what do you mean you don't even know? I said, well, if you could see the work that God is doing in people's lives all around me, it's unbelievable. I mean, what He done for me, it's awesome. I'm so thankful. But what He's doing in people's lives around me, it's just, you can't put a price on that. You can't buy that. That's just so amazing to watch. It says the angels rejoice when someone, gets saved and finds the Lord. Well, I rejoice too. And every time I see it, it's just so overwhelming. I love it. And, sometimes in life, a lot of crazy stuff can happen and we can't explain it. Not always, but we just got to trust that all things are in God's plan. And, so when people ask me, wouldn't you take that day of that accident back? And because, you're going to always walk with a limp. And I just, like I say, I tell them, if you only knew.
So did Jacob.
Yeah. If you only knew that my wife was saved.
Right.
Because of my accident. If you only knew my daughter was saved because of my injury. If you only knew that I've seen some of my friends get saved because of what I've been through. In jail ministry, I'll give my testimony sometimes, and inmates 4, 5, 6 at a time drop to their knees and get saved. Be out on the streets, and see homeless men calling out to God. And, that's because of my injury. And this limp, it's just a reminder of the day that my life was forever changed for the better. That's all it is to me. It's just a reminder of the day that God touched me. It wasn't a day that I lost something. It's a day I gained everything.
Amen.
And I know it's nothing I'm doing. I have no power to do anything to help people, help lead people to Jesus. It's nothing to do with me, but I'm just honored and privileged that He chooses me sometime to work through. And, sometimes it's tough, and you've done it all. I know you used to do the jail ministry and different things too. And I mean, that's a tough egg to crack when you go in that place, because you don't never know. I mean, you don't know if them guys are looking at you like they want to murder you, or if they're looking at you, just looking for hope or encouragement, you don't really know. And, homeless is the same way, because when you get out on the streets and, people that have mental illnesses, there ain't no security guards down there. Sometimes you got to turn and fast-paced walk back to the truck and just hope. But, but hey, it is what it is. But these last couple years that I've been saved or whatever, I've learned that sometimes you don't need to preach a sermon to everybody, but sometimes you just need to live one. And when they see you living it, they can connect with you, and they can identify with that, because now it's something they can see. Not all people that are unbelievers, they don't believe always by faith of something they can't see. They got a lot of people do got to see. I ain't gonna say I was one of those people, because I always had faith, but I got a lot of friends who are on the science side of it, and they're on the Big Bang Theory and all this and that, and I'm praying that one day God's going to open their eyes and they're going to see that the only Big Bang is going to be the day of the throne of judgment, when that gavel goes down if you ain't walking right and living right. But that's between them and God, so all I can do is pray for them. But and I'm still far from perfect. I'm not sitting here trying to tell anybody that I'm some righteous holier than thou, but I'm far from perfect. I make mistakes every day. But the way I see it is God give me a second chance, and I'm not going to let him down. I gave the devil everything I had. Everything I had, I gave it to the devil, and now I'm not going to deprive God from what I already owe him. I mean, he already sacrificed everything for me, so I owe him a debt that I can never pay before this. But now at least I can work toward it. At least work toward, I don't know, hearing is well done. How about that? That's all I'm seeking after. But it's a shame though that it's a shame that sometimes we do got to hit rock bottom to see the truth, and for a lot of people, they do got to wait. They wait to see that that's their last choice is God or Jesus, and I just wish they'd give it a chance. And you hear people say, well, if you don't like it, the devil will always take you back, and that's the truth, because there's only two people in this world you can follow, and that is Jesus or that's the devil. There is nobody between the two, and you can't follow both. You can't.
That's right.
Good and evil don't dwell in the same vessel, and they can tell me it does all they want, but I don't buy it. But God's just been so good to me, Sister Judy, because he has blessed me with an awesome wife. He's blessed me with two beautiful, healthy children. He has blessed me with a wonderful family that I grew up in, and I strive to be, I guess, the best version I can of myself now, for them, as a husband, as a dad, as a son, as a brother, and I guess most of all as a man of God. But I guess for everybody that's listening on here, and I know several people probably will, but I just want to challenge everybody on here that's listening to go somewhere private, out in the woods, in your barn, in your garage, anywhere you can go that's private, and ask God to reveal himself to you. And, don't think too much about it. Just trust with your heart. And, you have to have ears to hear and eyes to see and an open mind. But, if you're serious and you're open-minded and you really talking to God from the heart, he will reveal himself to you. And,
yes, he will.
He desires to know each and every one of you. He desires to love you. He's knocking at your door, and all you have to do is just let him in. That's all you have to do. It's simple as yes. Just a 3-letter word, as simple as yes. And, I guess the question to everybody is, do you have the ability to accept what you don't understand? Because that's the main thing. Are you have the ability to accept on faith alone, on something you can't see, but you can feel and you believe in your heart, and in your heart? I guess that's a question, because if he can save me, he can save anybody. I was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see, Sister Judy.
Amen.
And I thank Jesus for that every day. And I guess, I don't know, I guess that's about all I got to say, really. But you want me to keep going, I can go on for an hour or two.
Well, we'll have to go back and see who was more long-winded, you or your wife.
Probably her. I'm still going to say.
Never.
I'm still going to say her.
Yeah, that's the way it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you said that you had to hit rock bottom, and
Yes.
most people do have to hit rock bottom, you have always been a very strong person, always.
Yeah.
And when you hit rock bottom, you came to the end of yourself.
Exactly. That's right.
That's what we all have to do. We have to come to the end of ourselves and realize, I can't do this. Only Jesus can do this.
Amen. Amen to that.
I remember I had backslid for a while, and I came back to God July the 19th. And I did just what you did. I said, if you get me out of this dark mess, I will never turn my back on you again.
That's right.
I've lost, you know my situation. I have lost, everything. But look what I've gained.
Amen. That's right.
When you had that accident, I was already here in Ohio when you had that accident.
Yeah.
The news traveled that same day to pray.
Oh, yeah.
Same day to pray. You've had a lot of people praying for you for a lot of years. And I got really emotional when you was talking about her demonstrating pulling that chain.
Oh, yeah.
My Angela gave her heart back to God 2 weeks ago. And they had life jackets and had them tied to rope and had the rope at the altar. And it was a rather large church, and they had the ushers take the life jackets back the aisles. Well, Angela is a PK kid too. She has always been in church,
Yeah, I know.
For a little time, but she don't remember that because she was real little.
Right.
That life jacket stopped right at the end of the pew that we were sitting in. Out of all the pews in the church, it stopped right there. And she grabbed my hand. I thought she just wanted to hold my hand. I looked over at her and she was bawling, tears rolling. I said, "You want to go pray?"
It was time.
She was pushing me out of the aisle, but you said she was pretending like she had a chain.
Yeah, that wasn't even her sermon. That she just stopped her sermon and said she had a vision. I don't know exactly how you said it exactly, but she definitely stopped and was illustrating, coming toward me like this.
But that's what they did that for Angelina. She grabbed a hold of that life jacket, and he gave her a lifeline, and they literally pulled her up to the altar with that life jacket.
Oh, that's
awesome. It was awesome. I thank you so much for sharing your testimony. Sometimes men think, I got to be the tough guy. I can't show my emotion. When you serve God, who cares if someone sees your emotion? It just shows that you've got a genuine heart.
That's the hardest. That's the hardest thing for any man to get over is that first step. Once they take that first step, it's a breeze. But that first step, there's pride and ego, and they're too tough, and they don't want to see somebody see them crying. And oh, come on, man! I mean, what? I don't know all the scriptures, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. I don't know. You probably know which verse.
When I was a child, I spake as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things.
There you go.
Godly sorrow worketh repentance.
Yep. You see, you're a kingdom man or you're a boy, and that's just all it is to it.
Amen. Yes, I like that. Yes, I'm going to use that, brother.
Somebody will probably get me tomorrow for that one.
No, I'm going to use that one. That is a great one. That's a great one. Yeah. Well, I want to end this with just saying, anybody, whoever you are, male, female, you can reach out to Buck or myself. Yeah. Now, if you reach out to Buck, you're going to reach out to his wife also. If you're a female, you reach out to him and his wife. But you reach out to us and we'll pray with you. We whatever, we want to see people's lives change.
Amen.
We want souls saved.
Yes.
And it's not always been easy. Since you gave your heart back to God, since I gave my heart back to God, it's not always been easy.
No.
But it's been worth it.
That's right.
But it's definitely been worth it.
It's a challenge.
I want to thank you and for doing this. And I just want you to know I'm so proud of the man of God that you've become. So proud of that. Yeah,
Thank you.
I packed you for a lot of years too.
You had a lot to do with that too. Yeah,
Oh, I packed you in prayer, but
a lot of people packed me for a long time.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
grateful for every word you said too, Sister Judy.
Well, it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. Every
Yes,
bit
it
of it.
was. That's right.
But I thank you very much. I
Thank you for
truly
doing
thank
this.
you.
Thank
And
you.
I guess we're going to end it now.
All right. God
Unless you
bless you.
want to add something. Do you want to add anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, God bless you, brother. Thank
God
you very
bless you.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.